Gary was talking to you about trying to develop that L-shaped ground by somatic ground again. I did ask him about it, what, because the guy, what he wanted to do, but he said that was change his mind of what he wanted to do. I told him to Brock and do some sort of healthy development. Call the meeting in order. Please take the roll.
Councilman Bundy?
Present.
Councilman Brennan?
Present.
Councilman McCain?
Present.
Councilman Stokes?
Present.
Mayor Sykes?
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for the Monday, October 26, 2020 City Council. We'll run down to, I need to add something really quick, gentlemen, due to time constraints. It is information on the sign and the special decision on the sign for the entrance gateway signs.
Chair,
Councilman Bundy.
I'd like to make a motion that we add, due to time constraints, discussion decision on the, what do we call it? The gateway sign.
Second. Motion second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman Bundy.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Put that down for our forget. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna run down to council item number 3, council comments. You guys have anything really quick? Hearing none, we'll run down to item number 4, and then Councilman Brennan, sorry.
Yeah, I just skipped over item 2.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Item number 2, good catch. Would there be anybody in the audience who would like to get up and speak for 3 minutes? Come on down, Ted.
Thank you. I would like to take the opportunity here to highlight support from the Mount Home Airport for wildland firefighting efforts over this past firefighting season. We helped the single engineer tanker base set a record for the number of retardant loads in a single day. It was 49 different loads. I was fighting 2 fires, the Phillips Creek fire up by Soldier Mountain and the Pumpkin fire north of Boise. Although we didn't settle a record for fuel, our investment, significant investment in increased capacity has really paid off. On the 6th of August, we refueled 12 different single engine air tankers that set a record for us in terms of numbers of airplanes refueled, followed by 10 the next day. Those airplanes came from, obviously, your at Mountain Home, Twin Falls, Winnemucca, Battle Mountain, Twilly Wells, Twilly, Utah Wells, and Pocatello. So, and I think we even had 2 from Reno that came up. So they were, it really changed the way that they managed fires this year. And the heavy airplanes were flying out of Twin Falls and Boise, and the single engine air tankers were flying out of Mountain Home because we have the fuel capacity to support them. In those 2 days, we pumped more, dispensed more fuel than we had capacity to store last year and years before. So, had a great team of people pumping that gas. And that saves lives and property. These airplanes are almost exclusively used in direct support of firefighters on the ground. So they're kind of the first line of defense for them. So we help them do that. And I'm very proud of that. And I don't have final numbers for all of that, but really appreciated the support and appreciate the opportunity to provide that support for them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
All right, would anybody else like to get up and speak for 3 minutes? All righty, we'll run down to item number 3, council comments. All righty, we'll run down to item number 4, the consent agenda, and I think Paul wants to talk on D, right?
Yes, just briefly. If you're inclined to approve the Cole Architects agreement, which I think you can, I think it's fine. But there are a couple, if whoever the maker of the motion is, could say, I move to approve the Cole Architects agreement, item D, with the following recommendations of the city attorney, which is 1, on page 5, the termination clause. It says here that it's for basically for cause. And I think it should say either party may terminate this agreement upon not less than 30 days written notice to the other party for any reason. It's just, you know, if you want to dance to a different tune, you should be able to do that. Secondly, in the boilerplate language, there's on item number 9, it's a limited liability clause, which says that even if we're liable, the extent of the damages that could be incurred to coal would be the limitation of the contract price, and that's not the way things work in the real world. So that would be stricken in its entirety. Sorry, it's just really small. Oh, governing law, which is number 10. It says the laws of the state in which the architect office executing this agreement is located. Tiff, do you know if they're here?
They're in Boise.
Okay, so that was my clarification, is it's Idaho. It should be the governing law. And essentially that's it. The only thing I would note is in 3, it says that the documents are theirs. That's fine. But it says that we'll agree not as allowable by law. Somewhere in there it says that not to disclose their documents. It's going to be subject to a public records request. And so as allowable by law, it certainly gives them the wiggle room, I suppose. But then it's just dumb to have it there. So that's the only other thought.
Which one was that? Could you repeat that?
That was in 3, where it says documents that, you know, for example, it says that if anyone else reuses it and then the bridge fails and they go plummeting to their death, that we're gonna protect them in a lawsuit against them. It's like, no, if they got a copy of their plans as allowable by law, i.e. a public records request, and that whoever this third party is uses it and is negligent in doing it, if it doesn't, sorry, that's not a breach of this agreement, is basically my point. That's it.
All right, any other questions on A, B, C, D, E, or actually the consent agenda? Councilman? Mayor? Councilman Brand?
Could we have Tiffany just brief us really quick on the scope of this project?
Tiff, come on down.
Contract.
So, Mayor and Council, the scope of this project is, of this first phase is just schematic design, so we can go out for the land and water conservation grant. That would be due January 29th.
What's the time frame on their completion of this?
They're in a time crunch because they know our deadline for the grant, so we have gave them, we need everything done by no later than January 15th. So we're pushing.
I thought she was done. I apologize.
Go for it.
Now, we were talking earlier about the scope. What's the, when you go through here, what direction have we given this architect?
So we had the mayor sat in on it. We had a Zoom conference call about 3 weeks ago with them, giving them ideas of what we wanted to see in our future pool, or aquatic facility, how much money we're looking at, the grant we're going out for, things of that nature, and then where we would want to cut back on. So, you know, like we would like a new guard room and bathroom facility, but if that doesn't fit within our budget parameters at this time, then we only want a pool.
And we can do the other later.
Yes, so that's where we're at. We had everybody that was teamed in with these guys, so the land group, the pool people, everybody, the architects, and then from this agreement, now we'll go back to now sketching and drawing, and we'll bring it to you guys at that.
Okay.
Mayor, Councilman Brent. Tiffany, is it printed in here, their time frame to complete the job in the contract?
The
January 15th?
no, I didn't see that in here at all.
Is that something we should?
If it is time of, so that's called time of the, is of the essence clause.
Okay.
So that ought to be in there. We So that also should be included, that we added in the miscellaneous, or above the miscellaneous, underlined on page 5, that time is of the essence, and then put in the dates, the buzzword dates. I realize they're aware of it, but having a clause that says time of the essence, so get on it.
Mayor also. Tiffany, if we were to not be awarded the land and water grant, can we use the same package that they will present to us by January 15th, the next calendar year, for the next time the grant comes out?
Yes, yeah, and actually, we can get some of the design and professional fees that we're paying now can be some of our cash match when we go out for the grant.
Thanks. No, I'm good.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
if does anyone have any other questions? I've got some good notes on the architect plan. One more.
Not on that item, on another item.
Okay. We can wait.
Go ahead, Councilman Brand.
So a question on item E. I guess this would be for Brock. I saw that we're proposing to go to public hearing for a $65 fee, is that correct?
Yes, Councilman Brennan, that
And
is correct.
where did that number come from,
The
$65?
$65 fee, that was based upon average employee processing of the application. Based on an average of hourly wages from when they check in with NINA, when it goes for the planning and zoning, when it goes to emergency services, fire, police. This is actually a huge subsidized fee. I think it could very much be higher if we were to truly want to break even. However, being that we have no regulation whatsoever for mobile food concessions, staff believe that this was a great first baby step to at least begin the process of enforcing, and also to give the market the time to get used to having to pay some sort of fee.
So with that, I have concerns about the fee and the way you word it essentially is that this is an introductory fee and they can expect to have their fees raised in the future, kind of, right?
I believe all fees can be expected to be raised somewhat
For sure.
in the future. Not saying just for this fee in particular, but this is, I guess, the introduction of having fees for any sort of mobile food concession endeavor.
Okay. And I want to get this right the first time, and you're very good at bringing us the best information. So I just want to ask a question to the attorney. This is basically a processing fee, which would allow them to conduct business. It still does not level the playing field with a brick and mortar store in terms of taxes. Is there any legality there? Like, we can't charge them a tax to conduct business because they're on wheels. They have a free pass of paying property tax.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I occasionally use the term philosophical, but that is one of those where you decide whether you want to have only brick and mortar in your towns or whether you want to allow to have temporary merchants and stuff like that, concessionaires in your town, and you've made the decision that you like to have those things, that they provide a service. They have an easier and harder, but they have an easier ride as far as taxes and those kinds of things. And you're making up the fee that you could charge them. And Brock, you said all the right words, which is the fee rationally related to the regulation of that business. And you're telling me that it's actually undervalued. And so that makes it constitutional. But if we were to up the fee just because, the other brick and mortars have to pay more, And so since they don't have to pay property taxes, they should pay more. That would be unconstitutional. You can't do it. Now you can make the philosophical call saying, well, then I think it's a disservice to our brick and mortars to have these because the cost of business is more. Huh? I mean, yeah, it's like don't shop on Amazon if you want to support the big box. You know, it's just you got to make that decision.
Buck, what would be the fee to break even? Because I don't think we should be subsidizing this at all.
The fee to break even, you're looking at hundreds of dollars. I can't give you the precise fee right off the top of my head. But that is what you would be looking at. But staff wants to also inform, the purpose of having this regulation isn't just so there can be a fee and have a level playing field when it comes to free enterprise, even though that's a good thing. But I believe your most paramount duty is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all of the citizens of Idaho. And what this fee accompanied with an actual application provides is the opportunity for city staff to verify that anyone who is selling something consumable has gone through all of the right processes, that they've had a fire inspection, that they've gone through the health department, that they have played by the rules per all of our state regulations as well. So the fee is an important component. Don't get me wrong, and I don't want to downplay that at all. But I think one of the bigger things about this ordinance is what we're enforcing is to protect the citizens of Mountain Home, to make sure that no one's just bringing their George Foreman grill, throwing some stuff on it without any sort of regard for sanitation and other things that could potentially cause harm to our citizens.
Go ahead, Councilman.
And isn't that one thing that we have coming that I believe it's a $100 fire inspection fee?
So the fire inspection fee is $45. So the
45.
total,
I thought that was gonna be 100 alone. I proved that out, it was 100.
yeah, it was for $45. With the fire inspection fee and with the mobile food concessions fee combined, you're looking at an annual rate of $110 for that annual fee. Staff would be more than happy to, when we discuss that fee. I don't know if we can do this, Dinah, and also look at our legal counsel, but I can bring essentially show my work on how I reach different fees to give you an idea of if we were truly to break even, this is what it would be approximately.
So, Brock, we had discussed that they come in,
Mhm.
they gotta come see Nina or Alexa, right? And this fee is accounting their time to process paperwork, all that, and then they go to, let's say they go to Fire Marshal Reed, and then he comes out, and that $45 gets for his time, right?
Yes, but it all depends on who we want to include during that review process. For example, it's very common for other municipalities when such an application comes forward to send it to planning and zoning. So we know where it's going to be placed. So they aren't blocking parking spaces or other safety places, or, you know, I've even seen them go to PD. It just, the overall cost of just processing the application will largely depend on the process that we want to adopt. Whether or not we want it to just be Nina just processing, or if we want other parties to review the application.
And this fee coincides with, if they get a sticker from Mountain Home, that'll work in Ada County, Canyon County, because they are in the same schedule or set sticker schedule, you know what I
That
mean?
is for the fire inspection.
Oh,
So so there will be two separate stickers. There'll be your Mountain Home food vendor sticker and then your Mountain Home fire inspection sticker. The fire inspection sticker is good for anywhere within that partnership. But if you plan on selling or practicing mobile food concessions within the city of Mountain Home, be it on private or public property, you must have that license.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Stokes.
Brock, so within this fee too, they do have to provide a proof of insurance, right? So that protects the city as well.
Correct, it does.
And I had one other question about having like a sliding scale on this fee. I'm just thinking of someone that opens up a business in November versus February and spends the same $65. Maybe something to consider.
Staff was thinking just because the fee is considerably low, that there would not be a sliding scale. That if you wanted to start in November, then you're gonna pay the same amount, or maybe you're just better off waiting until the start of the new year. Staff does plan on presenting this to the food truck community this upcoming Monday and other different concerned parties. We're hoping that people will come out and give us our input so that when it actually does come to this body, that staff has been able to have more conversations with the public to help funnel certain concerns so that all of our discussion can be productive as to, well, maybe we should change it this way, or maybe we should do it this way. Staff's just happy to have some sort of ordinance, whereas we don't have one. Staff views this as kind of the first step, just so we are able to regulate. Because right now, we really don't have any sort of way to regulate. We don't have any way to go after someone for conducting one of these businesses in a way that's legitimate. Whereas at least now we have something. As I mentioned before, the fee is very important, but it's just one component of the overall goal of what we're trying to do.
That's right.
Who wants to go first?
Council Brennan. Brock, you talked about the actual ordinance, and this item specifically is for a public hearing to set a fee.
Correct.
But I may be missing something, the ordinance itself, right? Like, because you talk about that this is for the health and safety and all this of the community. And, you know, I want to know, like, do they have to have a health department certificate, and how often? Like, so I don't want to set a fee to something that.
Exactly. So Diana can actually touch on this.
Yeah, can I talk about- Okay, here's the thing. There's an order in which the stuff has to be done, but in order for us to get this in the paper and going for the fee so that it's passed at the same time that we want you to pass the ordinance, we have to have you approve this. So you're gonna have a special meeting on November 12th to talk about the ordinance that you're talking about. And then on November 23rd, which is when this hearing is when we're gonna want you to pass that ordinance. So we can't wait for you to do this, because we have to have this set for that same night as you're passing the ordinance. So if you end up not passing the ordinance, you won't pass this fee. So this is just to have the public hearing so that it's ready if you decide to pass the ordinance. Otherwise, we can't pass the ordinance because we wouldn't have had the public hearing on the new fee that's in the ordinance. Does that make sense?
And Councilman, if I understand, this is the body saying we are going to have this on the agenda. This isn't you voting for the $65 fee right now.
This is just to set the public hearing so we can move forward. If you decide not to do it, you vote against it. But we have to have this public hearing in order for you to talk about it in the ordinance on the night that we want you to pass it. But you're gonna talk about it in a special meeting on November 12th to find out about the whole ordinance and what he's brought forward and all that.
And what if I'm a little hesitant. I'm almost wanting to table this, but if we push everything, all of it by 2 weeks, what's the consequences? Because as the mayor pointed out, I want to do it right the first time. And if $65 is considerably low, I'd like to see your work. And so that we can justify to the community how we came up with that. And yeah, it's okay to go lower than what your work shows, but if it's costing us a lot more than $65.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask you a question along those lines? Hang on a second, I'll finish.
I got my point out.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. I was not apologize. So when we come to the city, and I think this addresses what you're getting at too, if we come into the public hearing and we decide the $65 enough, we could ask for more, correct?
Well, we'd have to go back and republish that.
So we'd have to go back and republish.
So why not make the fee tonight like $200 and then go back and drop it?
You can lower it. Yeah, we could raise this fee that we publish, and then if you lower the fee, you
don't.
Well, that might give us some of the flexibility we're talking about here.
And I think part of the other reason is part of these ordinances all go together. Tiffany's trying to get a park ordinance passed.
Correct.
In order to get her park ordinance passed, she has to have the number for this ordinance in it. So that's why we're trying to get all this in order.
Yep, and that makes
Get it all
sense.
done so she can get her park ordinance passed instead of keep pushing it off. That's the problem.
What would be comfortable, let's say, if we had to break even today, what's the number?
If I was doing better safe than sorry, Mayor, I would say $300
Okay,
or $250.
let's say at a $250, $300, and then if you wanna drop it at the next,
At that meeting.
meeting, you guys can.
Is that including the fire inspection fee or not including? the
That's
fire
just
That's not including the fire inspection fee, and that is including other potential reviewers of the application, such as the planning and zoning department.
One cost for everything. Give me
Well,
one number.
I can't publish it with the fire inspection fee in it because the fire inspection fee is already done.
Already done.
We did that already.
Okay, so then,
So it has to be a fee without that fire
okay,
inspection.
so the 250, 300 is good
And that gives us the flexibility that we're talking
to lower. Okay,
So which one would do that?
300.
Start high, bring it down.
Mr. Mayor, I like that 300 is good.
about. Make sure you have the data. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Now, good one's working.
I have one more question, Brock, and when we're talking about regulations, do we have the manpower to enforce this, or is it gonna be the police, or is it gonna be the building department? What do you perceive?
The enforcement, I think it is going to have to be a mix of both.
Okay.
Really, it should be pretty easy to enforce. From the fire perspective, the fire marshal would probably be the one who would be enforcing any sort of non-compliance that he sees. For instance, the trucks will have to be set up in a certain way, their propane tanks have to be configured, their generators, and he would be able to just say, hey, stop that. So I'm anticipating that it shouldn't cause a huge enforcement issue, outlined in the actual ordinance language, which I have blind CC to all of the city council and also the mayor so that you can review it and look at it. Staff has outlined a 3-stripe sort of enforcement plan where if someone is not complying the first time, they get a written warning from staff. Second time, there's a $500 fine. Third time, they have all of their privileges of mobile food concessions revoked for no less than a year.
So you're aware, when I do the fireworks inspections, I won't give them their license until the fire department has signed off. Actually, I give the licenses to them and they give it to the people. So this would probably be the same way until they have their fire inspection done. They don't get the sticker from me for their food vendor. So.
And I know, Councilman Schroeder, he definitely wants to make sure that those fees add up. Because we can't charge someone for just fun. We have to show a, cost per service.
Yep.
So. Okay. Anything else, Councilman?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Bundy?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we pass the consent agenda and on D with our approved agreement with Cole Architects. On page 5, the termination clause, we're going to change to, paraphrasing a little bit here, that either party can terminate with 30 days notice, correct? Correct. Okay. The other one, number 9, the limited liability clause should be stricken. Correct. Number 10, we're going to state that it's Idaho that we're talking about as the area. And, okay, number 3, the document storage, that one was a little bit, on the document storage, we wanted to say, what do we want to say on that one?
Except as provided by Idaho law, including but not limited to Public Records Act, Idaho Public Records Act.
Okay, as stated. And then on page 5, the time of essence clause will state the dates that we would like it completed by.
Second.
And then E,
Oh, sorry.
And this one,
number E, we're gonna do $300.
that doesn't say the amount on here, but
I was just gonna say that's irrelevant. We're just saying the date.
All right. All right. The motion is second, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes? Councilman Brennan?
Tiffany has.
Does he have to talk about the time is of the essence?
I did.
Okay, I missed it, sorry.
Aye.
I guess time wasn't of the essence.
Councilman Buddy? Aye. I got everyone?
Yeah.
All right. Run down to old business presentation of mini golf course by PJ Gomez.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys have seen those. I think Jake showed at least a few of you. It at least gives you a feel for kind of where the, let's see, this is the street here, this is 18th. Number 1 is over here. So it would be, the most forward team ground on number 1 is right here. This is our existing pitching area. The putting green is over here. So it's just to the left of the first hole is our proposed site for the mini golf. I'm gonna hold this.
Come on, Vanna.
So anyway, I've walked the property numerous times. There's plenty of room over there. There's probably room for 3 of these over there, really, truly, based on the square footage that they are asking to have available, and then based on the square footage that we would actually be using. It's a small portion of the land that's over there. And just so we're clear, the land that we're talking about is full of tumbleweeds and it's not being used for anything at the present moment. So we're using land that we have, that we would be an improvement, that kind of thing. Anybody have any questions on this?
Mr. Urquidy was pretty sure that's where he actually hits his drives on them.
I have had a couple people. Actually.
Mr. Mayor? Councilman Stokes?
DJ, I was curious, and I love the idea.
Yes.
What about noise from kids or groups that are out there? Because I know if I go mini golfing, I'm gonna have a good time. And will that interfere with serious golfers or tournaments?
That depends on how good a time you're having.
TJ, I'm sorry.
Councilman,
I don't think that's a big deal.
Are you familiar with Mulligan's down in North Ogden?
No.
The idea of having a mini golf course basically off the fairway of a regular golf course, it exists. And I've been to one and you don't notice it per se.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to be any more or less traffic than our existing patio situation.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had a busy, let's say, lunch day, where we've got 40 or 50 people out, having lunch or what have you, I don't think it's going to be any more or less or worse or better as far as noise. I think, what's the first thing you say when somebody invites you to a party? Well, how many people are going? They want to feel like it's the place to be. How many people you got signed up? How many people you got signed up? I have you signed up. Who cares how many others I have? So I think if we have a little bit of noise going over there, heck, I would view that as marketing or,
Brad is the life of the party, though.
right.
Social butterfly.
So do we need more people than Brad signed up? I don't know.
Since your Katie hits over there all the time, are we issuing helmets to these?
Yeah,
people?
exactly.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bunny?
I'm looking at your plan. I'm making an assumption that you're going to do some of the sign in, sign out from the pro shop. Is that your plan?
The answer would be yes. I basically opposed Jake because he keeps sending me all these ideas. My comment and response is business will drive a lot of those things. So at least for all of 2021, I don't see us adding some kind of, like there's right on the corner where they sell the storage sheds would be my vision of one with a little small deck and a door that you could keep the clubs and balls and putters and whatever else, maybe sunshade umbrellas, those kinds of things out in a kind of a storage shed situation, but they're expensive. And gosh, without knowing how much business activity we're going to have, and if, it's one of those things, I think it's going to be super successful, but I would hate to commit to a structure out there. So that's a long answer to your question, but doing business out of the pro shop for at least the first year would be my intention.
TJ, part of this cost, is there a way to have our, maybe we always talk about in kind, maybe our guys go and level everything off. We've got the equipment to do so and grade it however they want it, and then we back off. Is that something that's doable?
Yeah, I've talked to a local excavator about that. I think I have that portion secured.
That's grading and your responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. So the excavation, the answer would be yes. We have to have some of those things secured in some capacity. My main concern actually is the electrical from a cost standpoint. Just knowing what I went through with the teaching center, just to get power to the building off of the closest power pole was like $2,000 that I had to pay Idaho Power just to be able to get power. I had to pay $2,000 to get power. I'm like going, this is backwards. So, and I think that's one part that the city helped me with was, yeah. So, as far as responsibilities of the buyer, that's really my biggest concern. They put all these things in there like parking lots, not knowing where you're going to build. I think using Jake or the city for the fencing is a yes. Because if you look at this, I don't know, did you guys get, so Paul, I probably need you again. So they sent me,
We didn't
We
get
didn't
that.
get any attachment.
well, this wasn't, this was sent in a box, all this stuff was sent in a big box. So, I don't know how much you all can see, but it calls out for a lot of lighting and that. And I don't have any intention of, in the part of the summer, being open much at night. Because gosh, it stays light until pushing 10 o'clock. However, this time of year, if it's nice weather, like we're going to get this weekend, for example, and it's dark at 7 o'clock, I could see us, maybe a Friday night lights or having some fun activities. So the lighting, I think, and the electrical is going to drive that initial number. That's just for them to be on the property for 30 days doing their thing and building the putt-putt course. They're going to have an expectation of, yes, the excavation or the grading or what have you already done. Same thing with the electrical situation. In order to put lights and those kinds of things out there to be able to use the place in the evening time or some ambiance, that's going to need to be already secured.
Right. So do they put the conduit in the ground and all we have to do is just push wire or electrical, or do
I don't think so. I think they have an expectation. I would need to ask that question, but my preparation would be that we would need to have all that stuff ready to go.
Right. Most of the time, a lot of that's done just prior to them coming in and putting in the concrete and everything, to where you've got a lot of underground electrical work. It's bunch.
that ground over the rock? There's no boring there. We tried. It's all we got.
Yeah,
right.
We got 300 feet. Yeah.
So this is their, where they, so I did send this to the excavator that I have in mind to take a look. He responded very positively. It's folks that have helped the golf course before. So it's basically a full throttle view of construction drawings. Anyway,
Councilman Brennan.
TJ, what's the proposal for ownership? I see this contract has you as the buyer, not the city.
well, those are things that we collectively would need to work through. I've had some initial discussions with Nina and Paula and the mayor about the structure of the situation. If I act as kind of the general, if you will, for a year, and then the city reimburses me after a time frame, I think we have discussed 60 or 90 days after the project is complete, as I would be reimbursed, so the city would actually be the owner of it eventually. It would just run through my golf management company initially, so I can deal with the contractors, deal with the electrical, deal with the excavators, deal with these people, the whole 9 yards. We haven't finalized anything. It's just trying to come to a best approach situation. And this is where we sit right now on what we think is the best approach.
So you're saying the best approach is you make the initial investment and then we pay you back within 90 days?
That's our starting point. I'm happy to take that on. I've asked for some amendments to my contract to make that feasible on my end, financially.
In terms of like you collect the user fees?
Well,
Entry fees?
no, I've asked for some adjustments to my contract regarding my current cart situation. See, I brought a few of those with me. I've asked for my contract to be extended through 2027. I've asked for 100% of golf cart revenue for this entire year, which would revert back to my current split after this full year. The payoff that we discussed was approximately 60 days after the golf course is finished. I would have use with Jake of city resources, like for excavating, for example. I would like the freedom to choose the contractor. Harris is by far my first choice. They've been the easiest to work with, no question. We wouldn't start construction until probably July is where I have it earmarked right now. Because even if I got 100% revenue of the carts, I wouldn't have any significant revenue to speak of until July. Let's see, yep, I put in there about using the Parks and Street Department for excavation, that kind of thing. City would help with fencing, landscaping, product beautification. So that's just where we sit. We're just in a discussionary stage as far as I'm concerned at this point. But we do need to, make some kind of progress on those things if I'm going to continue with these guys.
We just hand over whatever word we want to use. Are we looking at the revenue generated by the golf course to end up paying for the facility, correct?
Well, in
Is
my
that kind
mind,
of what we're looking at?
in my mind, from a management standpoint, I think this thing would have a payoff that I could answer better after getting a feel for the first year or two on what revenue is going to look like. I think the city of Mount Home is going to realize brand new revenue that didn't otherwise exist. I mean, there's so many people that drive to Boise for activities.
Right, so that revenue would come after we paid off the loan. You'd be in the red for a little bit while you're generating the revenue to pay off your loan, and then your revenue's in the green, correct?
Sure.
Yes, so we're saying the same thing.
Yep. No different than the indoor center. I mean, that was something that never existed. Now we've got 30 to 40 people a week playing winter league.
Correct.
So
it's
it's something that was a pie in the sky idea at the beginning, but now it's a real life idea that's
generating
providing revenue and paying for somebody's salary and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So in my mind, this is doing the same exact thing. Is it's something that at the present moment is just a piece of dirt, and will provide entertainment for families in the whole 9 yards at a reasonable cost. and eventually provide a brand new source of revenue for the golf course, for the city of Mountain Home, everybody involved.
I guess I want to ask the council, TJ can give us his requests. You guys, I have a couple councilmen that want to take on this endeavor and bring it back to the council with what you're thinking. Is that kind of coincide what we're kind of thinking, or do you want to do a work session with this? Do you want a couple of councilmen to do a work session with TJ? I mean, where do you guys want to go with this project?
I suggest a work session.
You want to do a work session, TJ, where we
Sit down and
sit down and actually, if we do work session, we can have all us here. We just sit down, we discuss everything that you're wanting to see. That sound cool?
Yeah, I'm open. I would love to see the project move forward. I think, heck, driving by the skate park, and I mean, we need stuff like, we need 11 of these things. This is just one of 100 things that Mountain Home needs to just keep people around. So however that looks like, as far as moving the process forward, I'm open for.
Sit down, give us some time to digest it. And
So then you want to send out an email to the council, and we'll try to get everyone all on the same page, and we can sit down and get with TJ and Jake and Paula and talk about it. Sound good? Councilman?
yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'd like to see some different proposals, because I can see this going to 300, 400,000 real easy with just the item, electrical and lighting and landscaping. That can be another 100, 150,000 easy without knowing, having any type of bid on that.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. The one part that makes me nervous is the electrical. Just knowing what I went through and then trying to get the ground ready and prepared. An awful lot of coordination is going to have to happen there. But I think with the proper planning and doing it right, man, you can make it cool.
That's why the electrical should be in with the main contractor, because that needs to be worked together.
Do they not do electrical?
Not if we're taking care of it.
No. I'm saying does Harris.
I can go back to Harris and see what they have to say and what their reasoning is. They've built over 800 golf courses, so I'm sure they've got good answers as to why they're offloading.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't they doing the parking lot? Or why aren't they doing the fencing if they're doing everything else? I don't know. Maybe, things that come up in the past on their prior projects, or I have to imagine they're working off best practices.
It'll be possible to have one of their reps on the Zoom.
Probably. I told Paula or Nina or one or the other, I said, I probably can't ask these guys for a whole lot more for free. But they've been really easy to work with and open up to this point. But I'm probably at the end of my beg, borrow, and steal with these guys. I feel like I'm getting to the end, But yes, I would imagine, knowing what I know, that they would be open to, if we schedule the time together, you guys could ask those questions.
Let's do it that way. We'll set up a work session, and then we'll get a Zoom meeting set. Thanks, TJ. Thanks, buddy.
No, you got a lot of information for back borrow and stealing.
You have no idea.
Thank you.
Storyboard over there.
Thank you.
All righty, run down to items removed from the consent agenda. There were no items removed, but I did add an item, signage. So Brock, you want to take that one for me?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mayor to the council, as the mayor mentioned previously at the beginning of the meeting, we were awarded CARES grants funds to help fund half of a entryway sign in the city, approximately $30,000. $30,000 that we get to save and hopefully use for something different if we are able to utilize these funds. The mayor has tasked me to look at where this sign, if placed, where it would have the most benefit. So I looked at Idaho transportation trip generation to see where are the most trips. I have given you all a little handout here. We have along the American Legion entryway, right off of the interstate, there are approximately 8,700 daily trips. Sunset Strip, we have approximately 10,000. And then along Airbase Road, approximately 12,000. Based upon numbers alone, if we were just going by the data, staff would recommend that any entryway sign first be placed along Airbase Road. Not only being that the numbers say that is a great place for it to be, that's where there would be the most eyes, hypothetically, per this data. However, also, we are working to strengthen our relationship with the base. And we want the base to have everything in their favor when it comes to expanding their mission and potentially growing it. And I think a nice high quality entryway sign for airmen coming into Mountain Home to buy their groceries, to eat at our restaurants, and the like economic activities is a great thing. And so that is where staff would recommend any sign being placed. Obviously, the sign being placed anywhere is a great thing. It would be kind of a bummer to say informally if we couldn't decide on a place at all, and then we just lose the money and there isn't any sort of decision. So staff would prefer any decision, but if you were to make a decision, staff would recommend some sort of placement along Airbase Road.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Rock, do you think along that Airways Road, there's an old sign that says "Welcome to Elmore County Hub" or "Welcome Mountain Home Hub of Elmore County"? Is that where you put it?
I believe that there are various areas to put it. When it comes to where we put it, we need to put it somewhere preferably that the city owns the land.
Yes.
Or we own the right of way. If not, then we will have to speak with perhaps private property owners to see if they would allow us to put it there, whether or not we would have to purchase land, trade land. I really don't know what it would look like.
And my recommendation I would go with you there, and then that little triangle we talked about, Albertsons. So that's my opinion.
Okay, Mayor.
Well, didn't we have some problems? I'm sorry, Mr. Brandon.
Councilman Brandon first. Sorry.
What was the total cost of one?
65 was for the one face.
One face was 65.
Yeah, wasn't it?
I think it's 67. I have it on my desk.
Yeah, okay. And so I think we had decided not to do the one over on Airbase Road and to do the putting in the sidewalks. You know, there was a time constraint for that one as well. I just want to make sure, guys, if you guys really want to do that corner up by Albertsons, we gotta get it all done before December 15th if we're going to use COVID funding. So that's why I had it added to the agenda, so we're not out another 2 weeks trying to figure out what. I guess I just want to know, is that where you guys specifically want it? And then what do we do with our giant rock? Where do you guys want to put that?
Put that up on the hill.
We're on the hill.
At Walmart.
We're putting the other one at McDonald's. Remember that we're going to put the other sign at McDonald's. They are allowing us to, once we sign an agreement with them, to place it there until we do the traffic circle. And then ITD has allowed us to place our sign in the middle of that traffic circle.
We had a discussion once, I thought we came up with a place to put it.
Well, that's what I was we were looking at the Albertsons, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman,
No, I mean the rock.
Well, I think that was in some conversations, that we're in council, we can all talk about this together. I think there's some concern on the rock that it perhaps exceeds our crane's ability to move it. There's the possibility of breaking the rock and the expense of moving the rock. And I think that the Albertsons idea makes sense. It really does. But sometimes when there's always unintended consequences, and I think that's where we're at with the rock right now. Is if we do that, we're buying ourselves some possible unintended consequences with moving the rock. And then we talked about putting the rock maybe in Railroad Park. But then again, if we do some Railroad Park upgrades, then we have to move the rock again. And so it seems like, you know, if you go strictly on the numbers, yeah, that's what makes sense. But when you, and maybe Mr. Urquidi can talk here a little bit about moving the rock and where you put the rock and the possibility of the expenses there, we perhaps created ourselves a conundrum. So I don't know. And that's kind of what I think we all agreed when we had that conversation that that's a good spot for it, but that's a big rock.
Mr. Kitty has something. I was gonna say, if you're looking at Railroad Park, would be a good place for that rock to be. You know, when you come off of American Legion, when it close up that lane, the entryway. So we are gonna have the eagle that we have. We could have a couple things in that spot, just so.
Well, and I thought, in a perfect world, when we close that up, that was hypothetically, possibly high in the sky, a water feature, a splash pad, and then in the wintertime it becomes a skating rink.
There's still quite a bit of room in that back piece of that. I was thinking more toward the front.
Right.
Than the first one.
And then that eagle, I thought we were putting that on Second Street.
No, it's gonna be in the front of the American Legion. It's right in that big open area. But anyway, we can talk about that later.
Go ahead, Paul.
Mr. Mayor, don't forget your time constraints. So even if you put the rock there, you didn't have to close in that lane for the construction guys to get in and out.
Councilman McCann.
And it's all hypothetical. If we try to move it and we break it, then it's $7,000 worth of garbage.
Go ahead, or Paul.
I
Rock. That,
okay, I think you break it. Has anyone thought about putting it on the side of the hub? The tower there, you can see that pretty far. You catch an airbase road coming in. No, not the rock, the sign, the sign.
I don't think I see it.
The reader board, no, let's just throw it
Well,
out.
it's off the highway.
The Urban Renewal Agency has not expressed excitement for having any sort of reader board on that tower.
But you know what's neat?
We own it now.
I think we'd be better off right out here in the airbase road, even if we have to lease property or figure out how to buy it in the future.
And was these two-sided signs, or I forget, was it one
Remember we
two-sided?
did one-sided sign.
Yeah.
And then the other one that goes up here that'll catch the people coming off the freeway and exiting the freeway will be a double sign.
Yeah, I remember. Okay.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I'd just like to state for the record, although I appreciate the traffic counts, I'm not in favor of Airbase Road. I never have been. I think, although the numbers show that's the highest traffic count, I think we would eliminate a lot of the community that doesn't commute to the base each day. So I feel like the council agrees. I'm not sure, but that's my feeling. So I don't want to see it on Airbase Road. Also, our our hope was that COVID money would pay for an entire sign. And so I think we have to be cautious about our budget and continuing forward with two signs when we're only getting half of one paid now, not both. So I think a conversation would be prudent about moving forward with two signs and the second sign having to be moved in the near future, again, to incur more expense for installation. So in my mind, it'd be best to move forward with just the one sign this time.
So hold off on the second sign, knowing that we will do the second sign. So we can tell them not to put it in, but to still have them give us a discount for having the two signs.
If we can legally do that, because we wouldn't be buying it right now, right?
Right, but we could probably do a contract, right, Paul? Saying, hey, we want to buy two signs, but all we can have you do right now is just the one. And we're just gonna pay for the one right now.
And then we figure out where to put the second sign.
Well, the second one, if I'm correct, is gonna go up on the traffic circle, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
If that's legal, I'm totally game with that. I don't wanna spend the money on a second sign all in one lump sum to just move it down the road. So, is that, I think Paul said that's good, but are we putting a decision on a future council? Or are we contracting it now for that second?
We can do that on appropriation clause, you don't want
Yeah,
it
you could
anyways.
do the non-appropriation. So what's the theory? You're gonna order 2 signs at one time, but only pay.
For one right now to get the discount.
The more expensive one, right?
But you're, but you are, well, that's interesting. Why would the seller wanna do that? Why would the seller want to agree to a discount of 2 signs and then we have the option to cancel the second sign?
Well, what if we buy 2 signs and don't install the second sign?
Right now.
And then we just hold on to the second sign
That's fine.
until we decide where to put it in. Then we've got the sign, and we get the discount, we've used our CARES money, and then we just store it until we figure it out. Is that,
I don't think you can do it because the auditor wanted it in place, right?
You have to have it in place by
Use the
September 30th.
Not use carrots, just to have,
oh,
you're
so
using the.
could we put it somewhere like, the underpass?
Yeah.
If we have it in place and set up, what's the installation cost?
I think it's included.
If we had to move the sign?
We had an agreement to be able to put it temporarily on McDonald's property. And then the other one would go wherever you guys decide, preferably, hopefully not where the rock is, but if we move the rock.
Yeah.
You could put the other one like right before you go under the underpass on the side there on Railroad Park property,
So McDonald's in there.
if that's what you want. But then we still have to move the one at McDonald's to the middle of the traffic circle at some point. I don't know what that's gonna cost to do that.
But we were gonna do that anyway.
Well, that was the plan originally.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm here, Councilman, what do you guys want to do? Sorry, Councilman.
Now, does the quote show a discount amount, or is it just,
It
it's
just
just
shows us the
discounted?
amount.
Because
period,
that's
of what-
what, so we don't know how much that discount truly is.
75 was,
I don't
We had
have,
so
none of
many-
this tells me what the discount was.
well, no, it does have an original, just if you bought one sign, remember?
Oh, I have so many different books. I can't tell you. We changed it so many times.
Do you have mine?
So Ryder, what was that? Where was the location again? The McDonald's location, and where was the other location?
Well, originally we were out on Airbase Road and then we went to where the rock is.
Right, and the Rock is provided, it's an
And now-
interesting dilemma.
Right, so there's a couple of places in the Railroad Park. I mean, you could put it in the grass area right after that church building, right there, or you could put it right before you go under the underpass.
Oh, okay. So that would have
That
the
would
same,
only be a
that would have the
one-way
same
sign.
traffic as the Albertson Circle,
Correct.
plus the traffic to go down Near Base Road.
Do you guys want to put it there, right by the underpass?
I like that
You
idea.
can see it right here in this intersection. It's right here. Everybody going through the intersection is gonna see it right there.
So one thing about that last piece of Railroad Park, the last phase, I think is going to have that road straighter. So we can have the bike lane going all the way through. So the side, so the curb is gonna be closer to that, water, the old water thing.
Little steps, the ice house.
Well, the old, no, the water,
We weren't here
The
back
fountain.
when there was a water thing.
Is that fountain, the drinking fountain,
Drinking
square bill,
Oh, we're
square rock
talking
up in there.
on the other side of Jackson's,
oh, you're talking.
I know.
Where the
You're talking-
bench is,
before you hit the underpass.
where the,
Yes,
Kitty corner from Curly's.
yes, but, oh, okay, the far
Right,
side.
yeah.
That's what I was,
Never mind.
girly, so
I just think it's gonna be blocked by that thing, I just, okay. That makes sense for me. Sorry, I just wanted to point out something new. Throw another wrench in.
All right, Councilman,
Mr. Mayor, I say we go forward with it. That's my recommendation.
with what location?
The in corner to Curly's. Cause you're going
And McDonald's.
But the problem, see, so we gotta go there.
Right.
Cause if we don't put both of them in, so you're saying, go ahead, get the COVID money done, at least get the one single sided sign done right now. And then we have till September 30th to get the one up in McDonald's done for right now. But you don't wanna put it in because we're gonna have to move it.
And all of a sudden, we're asking for more money that we didn't initially plan for, because we were hoping that Cobra would buy one full sign, and that's not gonna happen. And I just had a thought, what if we ask this company to we'll pay full price for one sign, but when we buy the second one, you agree to give us the full discount from first and now second. So we get the second one cheaper. I feel like they would agree to that, maybe. And we'll put a timeline on it. Within 2 years, we have to order the next one, and then you give us this quoted price for the whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I like that.
So obviously, I'm a champion of this. This has been like an idea of mine for a long time. I'd love to see it, but proving thing with the money, I mean, just want.
So we're looking at this corner. Where the sidewalk is, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then obviously we can move the sidewalk a little bit. Or we put a kitty corner, I guess, there, right? You know how that works? So we'll have to measure that out and see if it works. So are you guys all right with the sign going right there? Or do you want it still at the rock?
I think there makes a lot of sense because you, like Councilman Lundy said, you get the 90 traffic as well as everybody, so that, and it's at a major intersection.
I like it. And in my mind, I think either that intersection or the one down on, which would be Main and Second, on the same.
Second?
Yeah, on the same quadrant of the intersection. But
So we'd move your rock. Yeah. Or Miguel's rock. Because remember they have their railroad rock there?
that's a little rough.
Yeah,
It's a little rock, yeah.
that took a long time to get that rock.
One down there though, Jackson's would catch Jackson Street too, though. Everybody cutting through there to where I think that'd be a better location.
The Jackson Street one.
Yeah, right over here. That
Oh,
way,
yeah.
Jackson plus down the second.
No, yeah, we're fine with that. I just want to make sure the location's fine, that's where they want it.
Mr. Mayor.
Or Mr. Yuki?
So just ITD has signed off on a sign on the board going under an underpass, 35 miles an hour, you're gonna start speeding too. Just, we want to have,
I'm gonna get we'll get their permission. It's always better to ask, was it mom and instead of dad or dad, mom or whatever.
well, I'm just throwing that out. I mean, we need to make sure that
Right.
the ITD, because it's their road and we're going through it, so it's.
Okay, well, I just wanna make sure that the location is where you guys want it. And then after that, I'll do the begging from ITD. I think we've got a pretty good relationship with them. But hopefully they'll,
Yeah, I hope so. I'm just, yeah, we do, but
all right.
Can we just vote to move forward and buy this thing and then finalize the location with ITD so that it's being built and it's ready for us?
You guys have already approved that me go out and get the sign, all that stuff. I just wanna know the location. That's all I'm worried about.
We already approved this purchase of 2 signs up to 150,000 in June.
I just wanna make sure we're all good with the
I
location.
love that.
I'm good with Jackson, brother.
Okay, all
I
right,
don't wanna try moving that rock.
all right. Okay, and then I will ask him if we buy this sign, whatever price, the regular price, if he gives us the discount on the second one. Okay, and then I'll try to get that stuff, all that information to you guys. Okay, all right. Got that, Nina?
No, we're approving that location, the Jacksons and
Well,
Cross
pending
the
ITD,
pending
obviously.
ITD's approved.
And
Okay,
And then the other sign is at McDonald's.
well, we'll hold off after that, but then I haven't talked to him for this month. Okay, all right, run down to discussion decision on planning and zoning recommendations. Brock?
All righty. Mayor, City Council. So what we're about to discuss is what we discussed a little bit more in depth during a prior work session. What is being brought to you are amendments to the zoning bulk and coverage controls and also the repeal and replacement of the planned unit development ordinance. First, we'll look at the zoning bulk and coverage control. So if you look in your packet, we're gonna look at this chart right here. And I'll just walk you through it. So if you remember with fondness, the time that we spent discussing these items, the Planning and Zoning Commission, when they were given my proposal, their only diversion was they wanted the minimum floor area for the R1 district to remain, which when we initially did our work session, you guys wanted that too. So great minds think alike. So what is being proposed by staff is that the minimum lot coverage and minimum yard area be removed for the R3 and also for the R4 zoning districts, which means that there will no longer be a maximum lot coverage or minimum yard area for those two districts. Staff also wants to point out to you that we had a pretty long talk about sheds. We don't want people to just utilize that to build big shops. So what staff did, we created a footnote saying that no detached accessory building shall occupy more than 15% of the lot. And we believe that will make it so people aren't building shops bigger than their house. And that they'll be a suitable size for that district. Next, staff is recommending, and as it was discussed in the work session as well, that the minimum street frontage in the R1 district be lowered from 100 linear feet to 80 feet. And that in the R3 district, it be lowered from 70 linear feet to 60 feet. And then lastly, it is recommended by staff that the minimum floor area for both the R3 and R4 districts be removed. So, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you would want to make a motion just for this one item now, or do you want us to continue to the planned unit development ordinance and do it all at once?
Councilman, what would you guys rather do? You wanna do it all at once, or do you wanna do each individual?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to amend City Code Section 9-8, talking about maximum lot coverage, minimum yard coverage, street frontage, minimum floor requirements as discussed and as written in the table.
Question.
Councilman Brennan?
Mayor. For the minimum floor area on R3 and R4, eliminating that, does that open the opportunity for the tiny houses?
The opportunity, it does allow someone to build a tiny home. They would have to meet building code, but they would have to meet it. But it also opens up the opportunities for more diverse housing products for apartments and also for duplexes. So note that any dwelling unit in one of these zoning districts has to have that minimum, be it a single family home or be it a apartment building in like a 10-plex.
You lost me there. So it could go either direction. What, in terms of the building code, and maybe for my view or by eliminating those minimum floor areas, what other part of this bulk coverage control area would prevent the tiny house in the R3 zone?
A tiny house in the R3 zone. I wouldn't say there would be much preventing that, but those are.
That's what we even discussed, because R3 is a huge population area.
So what did the council recommend when we heard this? What was our like final decision?
I thought it was just R4.
I thought it was R4, but I could be wrong.
That was 3 4. I believe it was 3 4. I did listen to the.
But I think I might have left it this time. And then Brad gavelled it.
Yeah. And I don't mean to like go back on our word or anything like that, but
Oh no.
I think we have to protect the community in terms of R3 is a big area in our town. And to all of a sudden have these typical size houses and then boom, a 300 square foot
I agree 100%.
tiny
Well,
house.
and this
That
is,
was a good catch. I missed it completely.
this is where staff, will just respectively disagree. That housing affordability is one of the biggest issues in our city right now. And I believe that the fear of having that one person who is going to build this tiny home on a lot, that he's going to buy for $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000, shouldn't be the sole motivating factor for not doing it. And if we want to talk about property rights and the freedom to do what you want with land you own, within reasonable means, staff believes that is reasonable.
The neighborhoods tend to have a look to them, right? And so you have this set image of your neighborhood, and then all of a sudden, you know, or heck, a fire comes through a house and burns it down, and they replace it with, in a developed neighborhood, they replace it with a 300 square foot tiny house.
Because I was thinking we agreed to go to R4 and then we were gonna set up another R5 subdivision for tiny homes.
We're gonna have a special tiny home ordinance, one week.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, Mayor, excuse me.
Councilman King?
I'd like to go to R3, back to what we were with R3, to where we can't get a tiny home in there. In R3.
So what's our R3 minimum floor area gonna be then?
It would be what it is currently.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is, but I think I think it was
1,000.
1,200. 1,100, I think it was about 200 below R2, about 1,100 square feet. But whatever it was, I think was fine with R3. Because R4, we could, well, but then, I know you said you live in an R4, and I think that was one thing that was, you didn't care for either, was the R4 being that. I remember that was brought up to where.
And I don't mean this, Mayor, sorry,
Oh, yeah,
I don't mean this to speak out of place or sound rude, but the neighbor, think about words here. I don't know what homeowner in a designed neighborhood wants a shed next door, a tiny house next door, and I don't, right? And I'm not going to ask you guys to tell me what you want, but I don't know where I'm going with this. Each neighborhood has a feel to it,
Right.
and a tiny home in an R3 neighborhood is outside of that field, in my opinion.
Councilman, let me do this really quick, gentlemen. Obviously, this could be a lot of discussion. I'm gonna suspend the Robert's Rule of Order. I want you guys to have an open conversation. So Councilman, have at it.
That's the only thing I agree, R3 isn't, but R4 is is the highest density that we have. So R4 would make more sense for a tiny home to be in rather than an R3, to where it is the main reason for my.
Well, on the R3, I mean, you made the point of that one anomaly might occur. But if you flip that same coin, if we just go ahead and leave it at 1,100 square feet, is that what we're talking about?
I think that was what it was before. I can't remember.
If we just leave it 1,100 square feet, then I think people going into that neighborhood are gonna feel comfortable that the homes are gonna at least be 1,100 square feet. And that request may never come, but if there's two lots and I buy this lot, then I would be comfortable that the house in the lot next to me would be at least as big as mine. So, yeah, I think when you flip that coin that way, it may happen, but it might not. But, you know, and a lot of our subdivisions, as we see, are being built being built in blocks, where I'll just make up an ABC Homes comes in and buys all the lots, and then they say, these are the 6 plans, and they're gonna probably be 1,100, but if we don't have that there, then they might have 900 square foot homes. I don't know. But I get the affordable housing, but I think you have an expectation of a certain size home and a certain lot. And I know when we start to talk about PUDs, then we have other issues come in, but we do have the ability to regulate specific requests with this PUD. So, yeah, if we just leave the R3 where it's at, I'm okay with it.
Back there for 16 years, I learned to say never, never happen, because as soon as I said that, it always turned around and bit me in the rear.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes?
I'd like to amend my motion and change the R3 part of my motion to a minimum of 1,100 for the ground floor and 1,400.
To what, I just put to wherever it was currently.
Yeah, there you go. As worded.
Leave it as current. And that'll take care of it, because I don't remember the exact number to me. And I would hate for you to put it in wrong and then Brock go, okay, great, now what do I do?
Okay. There's been a motion. Do I hear a second? The motion and second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Bundy. Aye. Councilman Brennan. Aye. Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Next one.
All right. The next one. The next one are for planned unit developments. This is a big deal because currently our planned unit development ordinance, staff believes is particularly arduous. There's a lot of requirements that someone has to have before they can even submit their application. They have to provide X amount of open space. They have to provide X amount of amenities. You can't deviate from parking. Staff believes that the entire purpose of a planned unit development is to allow the private sector to make the ask and essentially to plead their case of why they should be able to deviate from certain codes. By no means is a planned unit development a totally get out of jail free card. Here's the keys to the car, go wild kid. PUD, in order for someone to pursue that, they would have to submit an application to staff. Staff would have to review it for all of the different components that is listed with what is proposed, and then it would go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, where they would either make a recommendation in approval or denial. But then ultimately, it has to come to this body, and they would have to come to you and say, we want to deviate from X, Y, and Z for these reasons. And if you didn't find those reasons suitable, you have the discretion to say no. But staff does believe that we have a lot of amazing ideas out there of how to help mitigate the negative effects of our housing crisis that we have. I believe all of us around here, especially the elected officials, recognize that we do have a housing affordability problem. But the question is, how do we go about solving it? I believe that the way the PUD ordinance is now set up is it gives the private sector the opportunity to make the argument that, well, maybe we can do this type of housing product this way. And it gives them the product and it gives them the opportunity to essentially make the ask.
I have a question for you, Brock. So I was looking through this, and we're talking about somebody that wants to come in and do a development. So this isn't for individuals. No, this is when somebody wants to come in and put in. Now here's my question. So if they come in and they have this great idea to utilize 30 acres, I'm just making a number up, and they want to have a kind of a mixture of some single lot homes and a mixture of some townhomes, this gives them the ability to do it.
Yes.
Now here's my question though, how big of a development are we talking about? Can they say that 3 homes is a development?
That is an excellent point. And what really surprised me when I first came on was the minimum was like 8,000 square feet to ask for a PUD, which surprised me. I come from other municipalities where you need at least 5 acres.
So where do we look
propose? So what I was proposing based on the 8,000 square feet was a minimum of 1 acre. However, if this body would like to up the acreage amount that someone can ask for a PUD, staff wouldn't necessarily oppose that. Staff believes anything between 1 or 5 acres is advisable because you don't want everyone just doing a PUD. Correct. For everything. You don't want your next door neighbor doing a PUD and building a tiny house.
So a typical lot is a quarter-acre lot. Would that be a R3?
A typical
See what I'm
quarter
getting
acre
at?
lot, Yeah, you're looking at an R3, maybe an R2.
So if we did an acre, we're talking about a PUD of what we, in our minds, we can visualize as for city lots.
So that's like an R1 or an R2. And having
Okay.
someone do a PUD for their own individual lot would be, first I would probably steer them to not.
I mean, if we did a PUD at an acre,
Land maker.
then that would be about 4 lots, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So maybe that's, I don't know, I like the idea of somebody coming in and saying they want to build 50 homes, I don't know. And they want to do some variation so that they can create something that's,
And staff would add, another thing where PUDs come in handy, and maybe where staying at the 1 acre is advisable, is we have a lot of infill lots that are shaped really weird. Where a PUD can allow you to deviate from certain setbacks, for certain things that make these odd shaped lots actually buildable.
okay. So then they take that 1 acre and they figure out how to best utilize that property.
Correct.
I like that too, the 1 acre, because I think it's a bigger lot size than anybody would typically build
In the
a
city.
house in the city limits. And I go through the R1 zones right now and just, look at homes and stuff. And I bet hardly any of them are on a full acre, with maybe a very few.
I agree with the 1 acre.
Okay.
It's a good size.
That's why I wanted to see what size we're looking at. So we're looking at an acre, correct?
You have to have at least an acre.
Let's just say I wanted to have twin homes, row homes on an acre. How many, not row homes, twin homes. What's the word I'm looking, townhouses. You could probably put, I don't know,
Well, really, with the
depends on what you do with the
the
PUD.
way that I've written, they can ask to deviate from everything, but for every deviation, so when I give you my staff report, I'm gonna say, per our code, this is what's required. This is what they're asking to deviate from. So that I can adequately show both the planning and zoning commission and this body, whether or not they're going off the wheels or not. Someone coming in wanting to build 10 units on an itty bitty piece of land,
And you
only,
could say, and then we would have the opportunity to say that we don't like
and only have 2 parking spaces or something like that, staff's gonna be like.
Okay.
I can't stop anyone from submitting an application, but I've been doing this a while and I can be like, I think we should change it up because time is money. And I don't think you wanna go through the time submitting something that we as staff, having interacted with you, having known our comprehensive plan.
Well, I'm good with the 1 acre. It sounds like that's kind of where we're at in a consensus.
No, me,
You don't like it?
no, because as a PUD,
How big would you make it?
it's exactly, if they meet all of our requirements for a PUD, you can't tell them no.
Yes, you can.
Not really, not if they meet the requirements.
What keeps it from getting sued?
These are hearing level applications.
Right,
If you find that they don't meet the requirements, per the criteria, which is in here, which there's, some of them, there's not a lot of hard and fast answers. There's a lot of gray area. If you find something that doesn't meet our comprehensive plan and you believe it doesn't, you can deny it on those grounds.
exactly, but finding something that doesn't meet our comprehensive plan in a PUD on 1 acre is gonna be tough to do.
Say that again, Mike.
Finding something that doesn't meet our comprehensive plan on a 1 acre is gonna be tough to do.
So would you
Our
make it
comprehensive
bigger?
plan isn't set up to figure something for 1 acre.
Would you make it bigger? Is that what you're saying?
I'd say 5.
That's pretty hard to find.
As an infill, yes. Anywhere else, no. On 99% of the time when somebody annexes in, they're annexing in at least 40.
Oh, question for you. What legal rights would the council have in his request to deny a PUD based on solely the comprehensive plan? We don't think it matches that.
No, it's almost never a reason. Comprehensive plan is not a good thing to hang your hat on the fact to deny a PUD. PUDs, if they are conditional, aren't, it's a conditional use, and so you can build conditions into them, if they're conditional. If they're not conditional and they meet all the elements of your ordinance, you have almost no discretion to do.
So how is it now? How are you writing whether it's if they meet the standard they're good and the council can do it.
That's not at all
There's a lot of play.
how I've seen PUDs.
Yeah, there's a lot of play. You give us this, we give you that. I mean, there's a way to, you can deny it. It's conditional use?
It is a hearing level application, so it follows the same conditional use form.
Okay, then if it's conditional and you have certain things that you want to secure exactions, for example, and then you can have a lower setback and those kinds of things like that. It's a tool to be able to do that.
And that's where planning and zoning comes into play to say, okay, these are the conditions. We'll let you do it if you need this, this, and that.
Correct.
Well, if they make a recommendation, we
Make a
still would have
recommendation,
the final say.
I'm looking at this map. You know, Mike wants to go 5 acres, and we were talking about an acre. How many possible infill areas are there that are less than 5 acres? I don't see that many. So are we getting caught up on, if we just went with, does that make sense? I mean,
So when staff refers to infill, so what's shown on that map is currently pieces of property with outside and inside the city. What that map doesn't show is how many vacant lots we currently have.
it kind of does. But I get what you're saying. It sounds
There's
like
not a
before, we're just looking at the size of it.
There's not a lot, yes. Yeah. And for me, if you're looking at a PUD, you're not looking at a PUD for 1 acre. You're just not looking at a PUD for that. To go through all of that for a 1 acre parcel is the headache,
Yeah, you
let alone the expense.
So we're even.
Yeah.
So Mike, would somebody build 3 or 4 fourplexes on that 1 acre?
Oh, easy.
Easy. So that, in my mind, that makes me think like, then an acre is reasonable. If they can build that much stuff on 1 acre, then
You can build that on a lot less than that and have twice as much, more than that, actually. It all depends on which way you're looking at going. You can go up, you can go sideways, you know, there's all sorts that you can do. I just think 5 acres is better, but whatever council is agreeable to that, I'll go along with it.
Why don't we split it at 3?
Or just go with your one and you got 3 ayes and 1 nay to where so it still goes.
All right, Councilman, what do you guys want to do?
Mike's done it for a while. I mean, I like 1 acre, but if he feels strong about 5 acres, then if we would get we get a unanimous, I think there's some benefit in showing a unified vote on it at 5 acres. I don't know. Because when you do the 1 acre and somebody ends up putting 3 or 4 fourplexes on there, then you got the same problem as the R3 lots where we're not letting any homes. Possibly, you know, there's an expectation in a neighborhood, and so if there's a fill in at 1 acre and it's residences and somebody comes in and puts in a whole bunch of fourplexes, then we have I don't know, maybe not a similar question that we had earlier on size of homes and lots and types of homes.
Staff is very happy just to have it amended and that this is what we're deciding on. So no matter what happens this evening, staff is proud of you and we're gonna do good work.
So well, that makes us feel better.
So that being
You
said,
guys
though-
hired Stuart Smalley.
So that being said though, I believe I have, in different municipalities, have done more PUDs than Mike has.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
To that extent. In Twin Falls, the minimum was 2 acres. And there were some cool things that happened because there was that amount. Staff, I'm 5 is, I'll still be smiling with 5. If it was 3 or 4, it would be a little bit better. I understand the definite concern with 1. But if we could come with, I believe, 3, 3.5, whatever you wanna make it. It just gives the development community more opportunity to entertain their questions. And what I believe is universal is when someone gets word of something they don't like, they're really good at telling all of their friends. And this will be a hearing level thing. And this is a small town. People will figure out and they'll come to the meeting, and they play a role in this as well, with their input. So
That's what I was gonna say too, is you can try one on, whether it's 5 or 4 or 3 or whatever it is. And if it seems to be a product that's working, and there's a lot of desire to have 3 or 2 acre sizes, you can always amend it again. Create more of a building envelope for that. Or if one goes in and it's next to, 5,000 square foot house and why on earth did you do that, city council? It's like, okay, we're getting more feedback. So, I mean, you can pick off a little, not take it all.
Yeah.
Just to
I can
commit on it.
understand that, Brock's reason for 3. 3 I could go along with, yeah. 1 is just, to me, it's just way too small.
Perfect, do I hear 3?
Yeah, we got pumpkins to just.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman.
I'll make a motion to approve and adopt the proposed enactments concerning City Code Section 9-18 about PUDs, except the minimum I want to do for a PUD size 4 acres.
3 or 4?
4. I said 4.
I thought you said he's having with 3.
I'm not saying.
Mr. Mayor, I'll amend my motion to make it 3 acres minimum.
I'll second it.
You would think.
All right, so we have a motion made to do the minimum 3 acres. Do I hear a second?
I seconded it already.
Okay, call for the question. Councilman Buddy? Aye. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Councilman McCain?
Aye.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, we'll run down to item number 7, final comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes.
I think we should give a big congratulations to Tiffany Belt, who just became a published author this last week.
Wow.
So congratulations.
I was the 3rd author, by the way.
All right.
Mr.
It's still
Stokes
published.
was number 1.
All right.
Brad? Wow.
I think before we meet again, the only thing I have is everyone get out and vote, right?
Already did.
So, with that, council, we have anything else before we go judge pumpkins? All right, do I adjourn the meeting? Do you guys want to keep this going so people can see who wins, or how do you want to do this, Mike? Adjourn and keep going.
Yeah, we could just keep streaming.
All right, well, let's adjourn the meeting and we'll go pick a pumpkin. They all lit up, Tiffany?
Yes, I did it before I came in.
Yeah, you don't know that. I'm disgraced to you.
You have a mad long sleeping from.
It's just a nap
you're
for
right.
dress.
There you go.
I
After all that, that's really.
know, I'm there to do that.
Congratulations, author.
No, I'm fine
No,
now.
that's welcome.
Don't worry, Brock. I don't. Any sense of that. Just say, you gotta say, that's what you're gonna do.